Hi, and welcome to Game Talk. I'm your host, Connor Haynes. That's right, Season 2, this is a coup.
Oh, that's
Today I'm
good.
joined by Mike
Hello.
and Ahmed.
Hi.
Today, I think we're going to talk about probably maybe the biggest news of all time in gaming.
Yeah, that's not. I know we like to indulge in hyperbole a lot on this show, but this is probably it. I can't think of anything bigger.
Yeah, I don't need to continue this bit for too long, but yeah, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, or is in the process of buying, but it's a sure thing. The ink's not dry yet.
So this is a $67 billion purchase.
Yeah,
So
it's kind.
To let that sink in, this is like what 6-7 Bethesdas.
Bethesda was 7 billion, I think.
Oh, so it's like 10 Bethesdas.
It's 10 Bethesdas, yeah.
Yeah, so just to put this in context, right? Like, I knew after Microsoft bought Bethesda that they weren't done, right? Like, I knew they were going to buy some other people. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought Activision Blizzard. Like, this is one of the...
I mean, we were saying like Sony or or not Sony. We were saying Sega or Square Enix.
Yeah, like this is just unprecedented. Like, this is... I hate this, honestly. Like, I think this spells a very grim future of what's to come, because like this means that anyone is fair game. If Microsoft can buy,
this was the biggest one. Like,
if Microsoft can buy Activision, what's to stop them from buying EA next year? Like,
or Nintendo.
The only thing with Nintendo is like, I think Japan, like just them being a Japanese company and everything, I don't think they'd sell out for any amount of money.
I think Microsoft has tried to buy Nintendo before and they laughed in their face. I think before the Xbox, I'm pretty sure Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo.
Like, it's not even about like the price for them. It's just like it's like an insult to them, right? Like the fact that they would even, try to do that. I think that's how they see it.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with you that this is like crazy, but I'm of two minds about it, because there was no worse IP hell than Activision Blizzard, other than like Konami, probably. Like,
no, there are definitely positives to come out of this, and the positives being that like there's a good chance that Microsoft will straighten Activision Blizzard out, and by straighten out, I mean like get rid of all of like the horrible sexual harassers and stuff that have plagued.
Yeah, Bobby Kotick is probably out, but even on top of that, like I think they're gonna like. I mean, I just feel like anybody with a good head on their shoulders could see like a lot of value at Activision Blizzard that for some reason that wasn't good enough for them. Like,
yeah, it's just, there's so many things to talk about with this, right? Like, so like I guess the first thing is like Microsoft once again expands their party of first party studios by what? 16 now, so let's just put
if you play a first person shooter there, you need an Xbox now, an Xbox or a PC. Like, a PS5 is not going to cut it for you anymore.
Yeah, it is the fact that like, and one of my coworkers made this point to me today, and I thought it made sense that like, from the perspective of the kind of games that Activision Blizzard offers, like mainly like the FPSs and stuff like that, it's a really good fit with Xbox, because Xbox really is sort of like has been the multiplayer shooter console forever. But like, just to put this in perspective, here are the 16 studios that Microsoft now owns. Activision Shanghai, which is a support studio. Beanox, which is a support studio supporting Call of Duty and Crash Bandicoot. 5 Blizzard teams. Team 1 supports StarCraft. Team 2 supports World of Warcraft. Team 3 supports Diablo. Team 4 supports Overwatch. Team 5 supports Hearthstone. Demonware, which is a support studio, Digital Labs Studio Entertainment, which is a support studio, High Moon Studios, which is a support studio and supports Call of Duty, Infinity Ward, which is a Call of Duty developer, King, which is a mobile developer who created Candy Crush, which I'm still pretty sure is like the biggest mobile game ever.
I believe so, yeah.
Radical Entertainment, which is a support team, and they were supporting Destiny back when Bungie was part of Activision. Sledgehammer, also Call of Duty developer. Toys for Bob, they did Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, and now they're supporting Call of Duty Warzone. And Treyarch, which is a Call of Duty developer. So a lot of Call of Duty studios, a lot of Blizzard IP studios like World of Warcraft, Diablo, that sort of thing. I guess I think the biggest thing to take away from this, at least in how it will impact Sony, because like it or not, like that's a big part of this conversation, right? Like Call of Duty.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that are like, all right, Sony, who are you going to buy now? And I don't think that's the takeaway. That's not really Sony's MO.
I mean, like what are they going to do? Like, poop out $100 billion? Like, that's not how this works, you know? Like, they have to find another way to fight. They don't have
the bankroll to buy Activision Blizzard.
Right. Like, it's just physically not possible, right?
Yeah.
But like, the biggest way this impacts Sony, and therefore, I think, just mainstream gaming as a whole, is that Call of Duty will likely become an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, I don't see Warzone becoming exclusive, but
like in a
similar Call of Duty entry, and that's a good value for Game Pass. Like,
yeah, and you know, like, everything is up into the air now, right? Like, do we still think Microsoft is going to pump out a Call of Duty every year?
Yes,
I agree with that. I think so, but like, there's a chance they could be like, okay, COD is every 2 years and it's going to be hyper polished or whatever.
Well, yeah,
and they use the other studios for something else.
The model has so much room to change once Call of Duty isn't just Call of Duty anymore. Call of Duty is like a selling point of Game Pass now, and like maybe it doesn't need to be every year because it's got that monthly revenue. Maybe it's an update every year.
Honestly. Dude, I feel like Call of Duty alone could probably double the current Game Pass user base. Like,
yeah, because like the people who buy Call of Duty every year might not even know about Game Pass right now. Like, but like having it be in Game Pass and like those people seeing that they can spend $10 or $15 a month, which is not $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate, which includes Xbox Live Gold, is not bad compared to what $10 a month for Xbox Live you needed to play anyway.
I mean, let's put this into perspective, right? Like, Microsoft has said again and again they want Game Pass to be the Netflix of gaming, right? Like,
it's already this alone makes it way better than the Netflix of gaming. Like, better than Netflix was at its peak, I think.
Well, here's the thing: it is the Netflix of gaming now, right? Like, And the point being that, like, if you're okay paying like $15-$20 a month for Netflix, you should be okay paying an equivalent amount for Game Pass, right?
Yeah, Game Pass is $10 a month for Game Pass PC for anybody keeping track. Yeah, I believe $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate, which gets you Game Pass PC, Game Pass console, and
the price will almost assuredly increase after this Activision merger happens. Like, they cannot stay that cheap.
Well, maybe. I mean, it depends on how many more people join because of it. Because like, it's an economy of scale thing, right? Like,
it isn't an economy of scale thing, but Microsoft also, like, this is the strategy with these subscription services, right? You start out low, get people into the service, and then you crank up the price. Like, this year alone, Netflix is increasing the price of like the 4K subscription tier to $20 a month. Yeah. Like, it will happen to Game Pass. It's not like I don't care what Phil Spencer says. Like, the price will
it'll go
increase.
Up, yeah, but I have to wonder, because if you hit $20 a month, suddenly you're on a teetering point for people like me. Like, that's when I jump off. Like, so $15 a month I could see myself paying and like not thinking about it. $20 a month and suddenly I'm like, I'll pick this up when there's a game I want to play.
So here's the thing, like, yeah, okay, so for people like you and me, that yes, I can understand that point. But for like, okay, so imagine like you're just someone who plays Call of Duty, Madden, and FIFA every year, right? Like, what? That's like $180 a year, right? If Game Pass is like $20 a month, I'm trying to do the math really quick.
That'd be $240 a month.
That'd be $240 a year. Yeah. But you get my point, right? Like, it's like for the casual subscriber base that like just plays a handful of these huge third-party games, it might be worth it, right? Rather than buying like, let's say 5 AAA EA/Activision games.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say that like Game Pass is easily worth it for me, like, because I burn through these games, especially now. Like, Crash 4 is going to be on there, absolutely. Like,
yeah, I just don't like it's such an ironic thing too, because like Crash was originally Sony, then it was Activision, now it's Microsoft. Like,
yeah, coming from like an esports scene as well. Microsoft now owns a good chunk of FPS esports.
Yeah, they own Overwatch.
Well,
they own
Dead and Dying.
Yeah, Overwatch is a dead game. Like 100%. Nerd Slayer has already made the video. It's a dead game.
Yeah.
I mean, another huge thing here is World of Warcraft. Like, they're probably going to stick World of Warcraft. But it's still huge though. Like, there's probably going to
really big, yeah.
They're going to stick World of Warcraft on Game Pass and then probably get a console version out?
No, the console version for World of Warcraft I think is impossible right now because the engine's so old and garbage.
Yeah, but Microsoft could update that. Like,
that's a lot of money.
They have the $70 billion to buy Activision.
There's $70 billion in the hole right now.
Yeah,
I mean, but that's still like not that much for Microsoft, which is because they're worth over $1 trillion. Like, I mean, obviously, like they don't have $1 trillion on hand, like for cash for spending, but like, I think this is a clear sign that Phil Spencer could spend money on whatever he wants, right? Like, there's no limitations here. Like, I think the only person Phil Spencer has to answer to is Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, and that's it. Right.
I did see somebody joking about how E3 is going to be like 8 hours of Microsoft, and then Sony gets an hour and a half.
So it's funny because like I think E3 just isn't happening this year. Did you guys hear about
online?
That? No, I think that's just like not a thing. Even the online version, but like I could be wrong.
Well, that's kind of sad, but that's okay.
But yeah, like obviously, you know, like Call of Duty is the biggest player in all of this, but like there's so many other things too.
Yeah,
like,
it's the biggest player, but it's the one I'm least excited about. Like, get Toys for Bob off of Call of Duty. Somebody.
Yeah, I said this in the chat, but like Toys for Bob could totally make a Banjo-Kazooie, and it would totally rule. Like,
like the kid in me is like, oh my god, there could be a Banjo Spyro Crash crossover. But that wouldn't be a good game, I don't think. But
no, they're too different. But I think, and obviously, like it'll take
extremely similar. Crash is the one that's the odd one out.
I think it'll take time, right? Like I think they already said like this merge will happen sometime in 2023, which you know isn't too far away, but it's not like right around the corner either. But like after that merge happens, like these teams need to like finish off whatever projects they're on, and then they can start on new stuff. So. Like I'm hoping Toys for Bob transitions off of Warzone and then gets like a new Spyro or Crash or, you know, Banjo-Kazooie, you know, that would be ideal.
Any of those would be fine by me. Like,
but yeah, I do think you know, Phil Spencer is the one in charge of all of this now. And I think he's smart enough to realize that like you don't need 10 of the 16 studios that you just bought working on Call of Duty. You really don't. So.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, because, you know, this merger doesn't make Call of Duty stop being the content behemoth that it is.
Yeah, and just to, you know, like, we made predictions on the show, like, oh, Vanguard's the one that's going to, you know, like, not be the highest selling game, and, like, it was the highest selling game in December. Like, it's not even close, right? So, like,
Call of Duty is definitely the weakest it's ever been, though. Yeah, but, the problem is, like, its competition was the most lackluster Battlefield game ever. Like,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Halo was number 2.
Yeah.
Which is like...
that's insane. Yeah.
If ever there was a time for Halo to beat it, but like...
But that was the thing, right? It was the competition was a free-to-play Halo game and Battlefield 2042, which is like a joke.
Yeah. So. And plus Halo isn't on everything like Call of Duty is.
Yeah.
So.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like, I don't know, like, so, like...
What if they just stop doing Call of Duty and put that team on Halo?
If they stop doing Call of Duty, there will be no more wars.
I mean, that's a funny joke, but, like...
No, they would never. That'd be achieved.
These $70 billion were spent mostly on Call of Duty. I'm telling you that right now. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's all any of the studios work for, other than the Blizzard ones. Like,
yeah, the Blizzard ones also just work on garbage too, but different.
But yeah, garbage. Like there were some like I mean, obviously everything is in a huge period of flux, like lots of confusion right now. Like some people at Bloomberg are saying that some games will remain on PlayStation. I imagine Warzone will remain everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Is that like they're not going to take any games away from PlayStation, like the ones that are already there, Warzone, maybe even next year's Call of Duty. You know?
Yeah, and I do think like. This gives Microsoft a sort of like Trojan horse almost to be like, hey, do you want Game Pass on PlayStation now? Like, because that's the only way you're going to get Call of Duty. So like, I don't know. Like, I mean, before this purchase, like obviously Sony wouldn't be interested, but like Call of Duty is like the biggest moneymaker for them. And Call of Duty has been associated with PlayStation for like a decade now, right? And all of a sudden that changes. All of a sudden, all that money isn't there anymore. That's a huge deal to Sony.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're entering a period of insane changes in the gaming industry. Because, like,
oh yeah,
and because, like, I feel like the Bethesda purchase, it was huge, right? But like, it also like Microsoft needed to do that, right? Like, they needed to diversify their studios, and Bethesda was a great way to do it. And I think now that they bought Bethesda, and now that they have Activision, it's just like overkill, right? Like, they just have everything now. And so what is Sony to do? Like, they need to, like, I feel like they were kind of like, in terms of diversity of studio, on even footing after the Bethesda purchase, but now it's just like not even close. Like, Sony is just outgunned here. Like, they can't put out exclusives as frequently as Microsoft, just because like they have like triple the number of studios now. Like, it's just wild. Yeah.
There is still something about a first party PlayStation game that like none of these studios have matched yet. But that said,
definitely not. But like, it's the, I think it's right now, at least it seems like the quality versus quantity war. But like, the quantity, like, at least some of the studios that Microsoft has is going to start producing like really quality titles. Like,
actually, I take it back. I would say that Psychonauts was not that different from like a Ratchet and Clank game in terms of quality and like.
Well, okay. So here's the thing: the Psychonauts was on PlayStation as well, right? Like,
oh, right, it was, yeah, because it was made before, yeah.
But like, going forward, right? Like, I feel like whatever Double Fine puts out would be like quote unquote PlayStation quality, right?
Yeah.
But it's just tough out there, man. Like, I'm eager to see what Sony does, because like it or not, Sony has to do something, right? Like, are they going to buy Square Enix? That's a big rumor right now. Like,
God, I hope not.
And I guess it would kind of make sense considering their heritage, right? But like, I don't know, like, that's Square Enix is nothing compared to Activision Blizzard, right? Like, obviously, like, they make a lot of games that a lot of people enjoy, but like,
but they're niche, yeah.
Yeah, compared to Activision Blizzard, yes, they're niche, yeah. Like, the only thing, like, I mean, I guess the equivalent would be like PlayStation has to buy EA or something, but like, I don't think they have the funds to do that.
I don't think that would really be equal, even, like.
Well, EA has like FIFA and Madden and stuff, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it kind of would be, I think. But like, it's just, I don't want the industry going in this direction, right? Like, I think.
Yeah. So like, in the short term, this is really nice for me personally, because like these games that I like anyway, like, Spyro and Crash and stuff, like, it could be good for them. Xbox is in a good place right now, and they'll be on Game Pass, which right now is extremely consumer friendly. But like, all this, Phil Spencer's been doing us real great, but all it takes is one Don Matrick to come in here and suddenly, Xbox is back into a dystopian, horrible console that nobody wants, and all these IPs are trapped there.
Yeah, all it takes is one Don Matrick, and all of these games, all of these studios Xbox owns now are making like games as a service style games, like, I don't know. Like, it's
or God forbid, Connect games.
Like, still, like, right? Okay, so right now, the only source of like the only big AAA player in the U.S. is now Microsoft, EA, and Take-Two, right? Take-Two being like the GTA creators, Rockstar. Yeah. Like, that's it now, right? Like, everything else is indie or like Japanese or European, So like,
is Ubisoft? Are they French or Canadian?
Ubisoft is, I think
they're French.
Yves Guillemot is French, so I think they're a French company. But like, they're very globally distributed. They have offices all over the world.
Yeah,
but it's just like, I mean, Microsoft. It seems like they're trending towards forming a monopoly on AAA American games. Like, that's just what's going to happen. Like, I think, like, that's the direction I see it going in. Like,
I mean, they're buying the big publishers and stuff. Like, Naughty Dog is American, and like,
well, they're part of Sony, right? Like,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like, Sony has a lot of American devs, but like,
but like, as a developer, you could work in America without working for Microsoft still.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you work for Microsoft, Sony, or EA or Take-Two. Those are your big options, and obviously there's like indies, right? But it's just, like, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if 2023 we hear, oh, Microsoft has purchased EA or something like. And if you'd said that to me last year, I would have told you you're absolutely crazy. Could not have seen something like this happening.
Yeah, it's really the impact of this is going to be huge and long lasting. Like this really like I guess it's good that this console generation had such low like kind of soft launch because like stuff like this is really important for consumers to know before they buy a console.
Yeah, that's a great point.
If I bought a PS5 because I wanted to play the new Call of Duty, I'd be pretty mad right now.
And I feel like that's a lot of people, right? Like a lot of people, obviously PlayStation is known for their exclusives, but a lot of people associate Call of Duty with PlayStation, which it isn't anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, I wonder what's going to happen. Like, I feel like, we probably get this year's Call of Duty on PlayStation, probably next year's Call of Duty on PlayStation, but after that, I feel like it's all Xbox. And I don't know, like, I feel like they could honestly like alternate first-person shooters like year after, like they could do Halo one year, Call of Duty another year, like Overwatch another year, and they have Doom. Like the bandwidth, Doom another year. They have the bandwidth to do that. Like,
yeah. No, I mean I saw somebody that was like getting to the point where like Xbox plans to have a massive AAA release on Game Pass every quarter for the next 10 years. Like,
oh, I think they're trying to get to the level where they have a massive AAA release every month. I think that's their end game. Because every quarter, that's coming very soon.
From like a standpoint of playing games, though, that's terrifying. A new AAA game every month?
Yeah, it's
no one has that kind of time.
I don't know about that. High schoolers exist.
Yeah, but no one has that kind of money either.
I don't have that kind of... Well, I don't know. I mean, I busted.
When you're in high school, you don't get that many AAA games.
Well, you do if you have Game Pass. I mean...
True.
Game Pass is a really... I would have probably been able to swing Game Pass in high school. I didn't have a lot of money, but I would have probably had Game Pass.
Yeah, if you don't ask for like Netflix or anything, like that's... Yeah. I feel like that's not an unreasonable...
I can see people swinging it for their kids and stuff, like as a big Christmas present every year or something, like a year of Game Pass.
Yeah, that's not an unreasonable thing to ask, and it's like at this point, it's like infinite entertainment,
Yeah.
I just hope we never get to the point where the fact that Game Pass exists shapes how games are made,
See, I hope it doesn't. I disagree in some part. I think Game Pass has a chance to shape how games are made in a positive way, and by making them like a less terrible games as a service model. Like early access games coming to Game Pass, I think could be cool for them. And like I've seen the Outer Wilds guys say that they're not sure that game would have made its money back if it wasn't for Game Pass, because they can make a weird experimental game, and because the barrier to entry is so low, people play it.
Yeah, I mean, the funds are a good thing. I just hope it never gets to the point where, like, okay, Game Pass is this big thing, like, and it dictates the way games are made, as in, like, you have to make this sort of game. Like, you have to make this live service game, and like, obviously there's no indication of that happening now, but I'm just looking a little far into the future, into a slightly dystopian future where that might be the case. But
no, I think the more realistic scenario, and the one they're trying to build, is that it gives people, it gives experimental games a chance, because they have, they have this subscription money, so they can fund an experimental game. I did want to highlight
experimental games, though.
What?
Experimental games aren't real.
There are so many experimental games on Xbox on Game Pass. Some of them are terrible, and I've played a lot of them.
It just sounds like the Xbox 360 indie arcade all over again.
I think I saw that you could have made. I think Rami Ismail, is that how you pronounce his last name? Tweeted, just like looking at the scale of this purchase, you could have funded, I think it was 190 Red Dead Redemption 2s.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. Like
for this amount of money.
I mean, I don't even think
something like 30,000. This is a
great deal, because no one had to crunch for this $70 billion.
Yeah, here it is. You can fund 136,000 indie games at $500,000, or you can fund an estimated 390 plus indie games, such as Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, so like, I don't even think a single video game has yet to cost $1 billion. I don't even think a video game has cost like $500 million. So like,
I guarantee if there was a $1 billion video game, it'd be the marketing shtick for the entire game.
Yeah, maybe like Halo Infinite was 500 mil. Maybe
Halo Infinite was expensive.
Yeah, but like
it'd be all over the marketing material. Like we've spent $1 billion on this game.
Yeah, it's just like the scale of this purchase, like I can't even fathom it. Like it's just so much.
It's a lot.
So much for Call of Duty. But
they bought it for Diablo, obviously.
Yeah, one of my friends texted me, was just like, I don't really care about Call of Duty, but like if Diablo's leaving PlayStation, that's going to be a problem. And I was just like, well, I'm sorry, man. It's probably leaving.
It just sucks.
Well, Diablo Infinite, I think is what it's called, is a mobile game.
I mean, Torchlight did the same thing.
No, I mean, like we're talking like Diablo 4 is going to not be on PlayStation now, probably.
Probably. Is Diablo 4 announced?
Yeah. They have
it was like a soft we're making a Diablo 4.
I mean, they have like periodic updates on it, just because like the fans are like so rabid for it. But like,
it's like Overwatch 2, where it's coming eventually. We promise.
I don't know anybody that cares about Overwatch 2 anymore.
They keep announcing it's apparently we're going to see it in like April, but do I care? No.
Too dead for anybody to care about Overwatch.
I mean, some people care about Overwatch, but I don't know any of them.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that still cares about Overwatch. I think Blizzard pretty well killed it this year because they haven't put anything into it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I have some friends that were really diehard Overwatch fans that don't talk about it at all anymore. They just kind of dropped it.
I dropped it
I dropped it a month after release because I didn't think it was a very good game. But that's
I liked it after release. I played a lot of it, and I still dropped it like a dead weight when it was boring.
Yeah.
So what's interesting? I don't know if you guys saw this, but like, apparently, before this purchase happened, Bobby Kotick was looking to sell Activision to someone, and one of the parties he approached was Facebook.
Oh, that's terrifying!
Yeah, and apparently,
are you ready to enter the Blizzard metaverse?
Facebook wasn't interested, and apparently they approached one other huge party as well, and they weren't interested either. So you've got to assume like there's only a few people out there that they could have approached. They either probably approached Google or Apple or Amazon, right? Like it has to be one of those three.
Yeah.
And apparently Microsoft reached out to them, and they didn't want to sell to Microsoft, but Phil Spencer kind of just made it happen with lots of money, I guess.
Yeah.
But
and probably a clean exit.
It makes me like the conspiracy theorist in me wonders a little bit like whether Microsoft has been pulling the strings to get so much bad press on Activision Blizzard lately to lower the value to make.
I don't think nothing's impossible. That's all I'll say. Like at this.
So, when you're dealing with this amount of money, nothing would surprise me.
I brought that previous comment up to say like there's an alternate universe out there, not too different from ours, where Facebook owns Call of Duty, right? So like,
and what? I'm glad Call of Duty an Oculus exclusive.
I'm glad it went down.
Meta. Please.
So I'll just say, like, I didn't want this to go down at all, but if it had to go down, I'm glad it went down like this with Microsoft.
Yeah.
But
because at least Microsoft is invested in the gaming space and not trying to
thank God it wasn't Google.
Rampantly
shut the doors in.
Oh God,
that was 3 years. It was Call of Duty a Stadia exclusive.
Google would have found a way to mess Call of Duty up. Like, even though it seems like it seems impossible to not.
That's
just
a big selling point. Does Google Stadia even exist anymore?
Yes.
Because I haven't heard head or tail of it.
I don't believe they have any first-party Stadia studios anymore, but Stadia is still around. I still get they have my email address and they email me about like Stadia Pro games.
No.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, so what would you guys do if you were Sony? Like, realistically, to keep your player base, like straight up.
I saw people joking about Sony announcing a new SOCOM game.
I don't
replace Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, like so that's the thing. Like, I know what I'm about to say sounds silly, but like they're gonna have to replace Call of Duty, and I think the way they do that is that they sort of just make their own somehow.
Yeah, they're gonna need a big.
They're gonna need someone. One of their
they don't have a first-person shooter right now. Like
they don't, and I know I think they're working on a big one. One of their first-party studios is working on a huge first-person shooter. but like Sony's made first-person shooters in the past, but like they've not been.
I mean, yeah,
huge, right? Like they've made Killzone, which is fine. They made Resistance, which is fine, but like nothing on the level of a Halo or a Call of Duty.
If they announce another Resistance, I'll be lining up for that PlayStation 5.
Resistance has those fans, right? Like, but like it's not as big as Halo or Call of Duty. It's just not, right? Like, and I don't know if it's possible to create that level of a mega hit multiplayer first-person shooter.
If I'm Sony, yeah, they can't. Like, the answer isn't to replace Call of Duty, I don't think, because that's not feasible. What they have to do is, like, lean into their strengths, which are, like, stuff like the big cinematic experiences that are, like,
so it's
better than Call of Duty in every possible way, to be sure, but, like, they've got to figure out how to sell that. Because
the money, though, that's the issue. So I could see one of two things. One, they try to make their own Call of Duty and, make that work somehow, right? Like, or two, like you said, they lean into their strengths and sort of go like a Nintendo route. Like Nintendo doesn't rely on third-party sales, right? Like Nintendo's first party is enough to carry that company, and Nintendo's first-party sales are better than I think both Sony's and Microsoft's combined for the most part, right? Like nothing sells like Mario Kart, nothing sells like Pokemon, right? Like nothing sells like Zelda. Well, I don't know. Zelda's less so, you're right. Except for Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, right? Yeah. But like after Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, right? Like it's these Nintendo exclusives, right? And Sony's exclusives sell really well, but like not on the level of something like Mario Kart. And they're gonna have to find a way to like jump to that next level of popularity, I think, if they're going to offset this blow to them.
Yeah, I think they're really going to have to shift their brand, or in a way that they already kind of have. Like, Sony first-party games already have, like, you have an expectation going into them.
Yeah, and I do think it's very intentional. Like, I don't think you guys have probably not booted up a PlayStation 5 game or seen a PlayStation 5 game be booted up, but, like, their new PS Studios thing, total ripoff of the MCU intro.
Yeah, it's in God of War.
Yeah, like, so it's just like that's what they're aiming for. They're aiming to be like this really well-known brand that's known for, entertainment and quality. And they're trying to like be like, I think, the game version of like the MCU in that sense, right? Not in the sense that it's like they're creating some
in the sense that you know what you're getting. Like,
exactly, right?
Like you go to an MCU movie, and both to their credit and to a fault, like, you know what you're getting. Like, you're not going to be surprised by weirdness at an MCU movie, probably.
Yeah, and I think it's just more so that you know that you're going to get something good, I think, most of the time, right? And yeah, I just think
it's like the like a steakhouse of movies and games, like but like a chain steakhouse. Like, it's going to be really good. It's maybe not going to be like the best thing you've ever had, but
well, I don't know. I mean, like, for some people it is, right? Like, my favorite games are mostly Sony first-party games, so...
I mean, I know some people that really like Outback. Like,
it takes the Golden Corral of...
You're so pretentious, Connor. God. But, no, I mean, like... Yeah, I mean...
I feel like I need to, like, go atone for the sin of calling Sony the Golden Corral of gaming.
Yeah, I think that was cruel and
that
unusual.
Was too cruel.
No, I mean, like,
I honestly thought me saying Outback was a low blow, and Outback's not bad. I like Outback.
No, that is a low blow, and I don't think that's a fair characterization. I think Sony's games generally have a level of polish not seen in other first-party games, aside from Nintendo, right?
So what you're telling me is it's the Texas Roadhouse.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I can't compare steakhouses. I don't go to them very often. So Outback and Texas Roadhouse are identical entities to me.
I've never been to Texas Roadhouse due to the peanuts. So.
Oh, yeah. That is a nice gimmick, though, if you're not allergic to peanuts.
What are we talking about? I don't know. Like,
gonna compete now.
So yeah, it is tough. They've been put into an uncomfortable position. They were comfortable before, but now they're not. I think because they were comfortable because of Call of Duty.
This is the kind of thing that like could change the tides of a console generation. Like,
absolutely, yeah. And I think like. Obviously, Sony still has like one huge thing, which is Fortnite, right? Like, Fortnite is still really kind of paired up with Sony, but like they had, Fortnite makes more money on PlayStation than any other platform.
Okay.
So, but before they had Fortnite and Call of Duty, and now they don't, right? So like, it's a huge seismic shift, and I think Like this one move will shape the course of the rest of the generation for sure. Like so it's a very exciting thing in that sense. I just hope this isn't like the beginning of the of the end, right? Where, like there are two companies, Microsoft and Sony, and like they both own everything, right?
Yeah, that would be pretty miserable. I don't see indies ever going away, but I do
straight
think
up just one company, Microsoft, and they own everything, including Sony, like.
Yeah. I don't see indies going anywhere at all. Like, I just don't see that happening. But I do think that there would be it would be a dark world where there are no third-party AAA games or third-party AA games. Like, that's bleak.
Yeah, it is bleak. And it's definitely kind of a potential outcome here, right? Like, you can't help but like be fearful of the trend if Microsoft does this again with like EA or something, or Take-Two. Like, what if they buy Take-Two and Grand Theft Auto is exclusive? Like, that's the only thing bigger, I think, than a Call of Duty style.
Yeah,
or the
Call
of Duty
GTA makes a lot of money. Yeah,
yeah.
Can I tell you how amazing it is to be a PC gamer right now, though? Like, other than the fact that you can't buy a PC to save your life, like being able to have Game Pass, like have all that value, and like I'm getting value out of this Microsoft acquisition. I'm going to get all these games on Game Pass and everything, but I also can play God of War on my PC, and like, I'll probably get Ragnarok at a decent time. I'll probably, all these PlayStation exclusives I'll also have available to me.
You'll lower yourself to play these PlayStation exclusives.
I'll lower myself?
Yeah, I was just making a joke.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're beneath you.
Oh, yeah. No, Outback. Okay, let's take a step back. Outback is not beneath me. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm just saying sometimes I want to go to the weird, like, locally owned restaurant.
And what would that be? Unpacking or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
What would Nintendo be in this equation?
God, like
the sushi restaurant.
Was that just because they're Japanese?
Yeah, it's just because they're Japanese. They're gonna be like the Benihana of gaming.
I'm not ready to call anybody McDonald's. Like, obviously, having the place and everything.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Activision is kind of McDonald's, right?
Yeah, you're right. Activision is kind of McDonald's, yeah.
Yeah. No, Nintendo is definitely like the Benihana or like a chain Asian restaurant of some sort.
So let me just make this clear. So everyone's a chain restaurant except for indie games, then?
Indie games are like your local places.
Well,
unless it's Devolver Digital.
Call like Hellblade before they were acquired by Microsoft, like, because that was like a AA situation, and like,
so AA's are like mom and pop shops.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right, we beat this metaphor into the ground.
Yeah, it really wasn't ready for this level.
We're trying so hard. Hey,
but
all I'm saying is now I'm hungry.
I am kind of hungry now too, but I think I mean, I think we've said what needs to be said. Like, it's a very spicy time, like, to say the least. And I hope, if anything, if this results in a new Banjo-Kazooie game, all is forgiven.
Yeah. Or a new Spyro game for me. Like, I'll play either, even though I wasn't a huge fan of Banjo. A modern AAA Banjo game I would play in an instant.
Yeah, I would overlook all the negative implications of all of this. And that's all I want, really.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we move into what we're playing?
Sure. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. So I'm still not done with this, which is I'm surprised because I thought I would be, but I'm playing Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really? Oh no, you've been busy. Yeah.
I'm about 12 hours in, and I figured it'd be like 10 to 15 hours, which is like a normal Uncharted kind of length campaign. I assume it's not gonna go longer than 20 hours, right? Like, I feel like I'm in the last third of the game. And let me tell you, this is a pretty good game. It's not like a Game of the Year level game or anything like that, but this is a pretty solid game. Like, the best part about this game is the characters, which again is wild to say because like I'm super attached to the MCU interpretation of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I think the Guardians movies might be my favorite in all of the MCU. Like, I just love.
Yeah, Guardians 2 is a really easy. easy to accept best MCU movie to me.
Yeah, like I just love it. Like so much charm, and like the characters like all mean so much to me, and like the game nails it, man. Like they really realize these characters in a way that like they are the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're not the MCU Guardians, and you're okay with that because these characters are so good, and they really do take the time to delve into each one of them. Like so, each one of them being like Peter Quill, Drax, Gamora, Rocket, and Groot. Like you really get to see what makes each of them tick, and that makes the game so much richer for it. And it takes the time to do that too. It'd be so much easier to just like throw them together and be like, "Hey, these are the Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what this is. You watch the MCU. Let's just jump into it." But like, there is that element of lightness there. Like like obviously the Guardians banter is very whimsical and like crass, and like it is the MCU Guardians banter, which is just like I think how the Guardians are supposed to interact. But like, the game does take the time to really dive into each one of the characters, and I really appreciated that. And the end result is like you really care about this cast of characters, and so that's the first strength. I think the second, the characters, and the second major strength I think is that this really just feels like a massive adventure, like a galactic adventure, right? Like there's so many interpretations of like a galaxy, right? Like, and you just go to like these alien planets, they just sort of look like Earth but different, right? Like, not the case with this Guardians of the Galaxy game. Like, you go to these really fantastical, weird, alien-looking places, and like the art direction is out of this world. Like, it just feels alien to you, like everywhere you go, and that really is a huge selling point of this game because you really feel like you're going on this really weird galactic adventure, and it captures that so well. And I think another point to bring up is the gameplay. Obviously, probably the weakest part of the game. I will say, like I said last week, the gameplay does open up as you play, and it's continuing to open up even now, like where I am in the game. I will say that like it's not going to like blow your mind anything, even after it opens up, right? It's still pretty like rudimentary. Like you can, it's just like you can still get through it if you just run and gun, right? Like it's very hard to like fail. Obviously you could crank up the difficulty, but I don't think that's the solution. The combat's just not that engaging, but like I'm okay with it because like I just want to progress through the story. Like there's a very there's an emotional core to this story being told here, and I don't want to get into spoilers in case either of you wants to check it out, but like I do think it's a story worth checking out, and it explores especially Peter Quill in a way I don't think the MCU movies did. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this game. I'm probably going to finish it over the next few days, and I'm glad I gave it a shot. Like, I know some people are calling it their game of the year for like 2021. I wouldn't go that far, right? Like 2021 had some great games, but like I definitely don't think you should sleep on Guardians of the Galaxy either. Like, especially if you care about the Guardians and like you just want a good story set in a really, really cool setting, like I definitely think you should give Guardians of the Galaxy a shot. So that's about it for me.
Yeah, it looks good. I remember seeing when they were in development that they had to like brought on writers from the actual Guardians comics and stuff from some of the more successful runs and stuff. So
okay, yeah, like I definitely could I can detect that a bit, right? Like and there's like lore entries too. Like there's like a codex where you can like look up things about Guardians lore, and like you can equip different like skins for your Guardians too, and like you can see like what comic each skin came from, and you can like equip the MCU skins too if that's what you want. So there's definitely like a lot of love in this game, I think.
Yeah, I guess I can go next. I played God of War.
Oh gosh,
because it just came to PC, and I liked it a lot.
How far did you beat it?
I beat it, yeah. And the farther I got in the game, the more I liked it. It really did just have like it's very much a first-party PlayStation game, and has, in my opinion, like a lot of the bad that comes with that, which comes in the form of like features that just don't make sense for the game at all. Like this game didn't need crafting. It didn't need like leveling up. It didn't need like there's just a lot of menu nonsense that you could completely scrap from the game.
So I agree with that, but I do think like some of the stuff, like the weapon upgrades and stuff, I really enjoyed. Like
I'm
able to equip like different
upgrades were linear. Like I didn't need to go into a menu. Like, I got an item, and then I talked to Sindri, and like I got the item through the story, and I had my weapons at max level by the end of the game.
Yeah, so maybe upgrades was the wrong term. I'm talking about like the abilities that you can swap in and out for your weapons. I forget.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. There's some of it that I think could stay. My problem is that like
the armor stuff didn't need to be there. I think.
Yeah, the armor was terrible, and the armor and my reason for saying that is that like it really dragged on my experience at the beginning because I'm somebody who doesn't really pay attention to those systems, and I can get away with that in a lot of games. But I actually did hit a point where like my numbers were just too low and I couldn't beat the guys anymore. And I had to go into the menus and spend a couple minutes like finding what had the best numbers and putting it on. And then suddenly the game was easy again. Yeah. And like that just didn't need to be there. Like it was just annoying when I was like so engrossed in this pretty brilliant story with like extremely good acting and insane set piece visuals that I loved. And like I don't know how much I want to get into the story, but like Atreus starts being a kind of a punk at one point in the story, and I was like just destroyed by that. I hated it, but like in a good way.
But like that's what happens with kids, you know, like
yeah, it was very good. I really liked the game, and that's why like I was whining to Ahmed. I was texting him about like these parts of the game that I didn't like because they really did drag down the experience for me. Like I was just, not so much in like time wise because like I played it for 15 hours and maybe like 30 or 40 minutes of those were stuck in a menu or something.
Wow, but so like, you basically just beeline the main story, right?
I did. I don't do side quests. I don't enjoy them. Like
I mean, that's fine. That's a perfectly fine way to play God of War. Like,
yeah, I have a colossal backlog to get through, so I might come back to it someday. But yeah, I didn't. I started to do one side quest, and they had like given it to me when I wasn't strong enough to do it yet, and I was annoyed by that, and I never went back.
I was gonna say God of War is also one of those games where like they have dialogue for days, right? Like even after you beat the game, you will keep getting new dialogue, and the fact that you didn't do the side quest until after you beat the story, I'm sure you'll unlock like unique dialogue just based off that. They have dialogue that accounts for like every possible situation.
What's bonkers to me is like the amount of content in this game outside of the main story, like. I walked around briefly in Niflheim, and I know there's not a ton there. Yeah, you can't even really go to Niflheim until the story's pretty much over.
Well, if you had done some side stuff, you could have discovered like the ciphers faster, I think.
Oh, okay. Because I discovered one of the ciphers like on the walk to the final mission. Like,
yeah, I think the more you do the side stuff, the faster you discover the ciphers. Did you discover Muspelheim?
No, I did not.
That's another realm.
Yeah, I know Muspelheim was in the game, and I never went,
But yeah, what did you think of, gosh, I'm forgetting his name now, the head.
Oh, Mimir. I like Mimir a lot. I definitely was glad he showed up to bring some levity to things, because Kratos is very, he's a little grimdark sometimes.
Yeah, but like even so, like it's interesting from your perspective, right? Because you didn't play the previous games, I did, right? And like just seeing Kratos, how he changed in this game, and like how he changes throughout the game too, right? Like I think by the end of the game, he is a father and not a dad, right? Like he's a
dad. Like he's a better dad. Like he's not a deadbeat dad anymore.
Yeah.
I liked the game more so than I thought I would in the first hour. I actually was like regretting my purchase for 2.5 hours in this game.
That's crazy.
I was so bored at the beginning because they just front-load you with all these menus and like boring walking around the woods with Atreus, and like there's nothing going on. And then Baldur shows up, you fight Baldur, and I'm like, all right, well, I mean, this is good, but like I need more. And it really was. It was 3 hours probably before any of the combat was fun even a little bit to me.
Yeah.
And the combat never does get that good. Like it's pretty good, but like I don't know, I have a hard time.
So the combat really shines. Like, did you kill any of the Valkyries?
No.
Yeah, so the Valkyries are 9 optional bosses that you hunt throughout the world. And it's like
if it was optional, I did not do it.
Whole other storyline, and it culminates in the fight with the Queen Valkyrie, that's like, I think that's when you realize that the combat is pretty good. Like, because like you really have to unleash everything to beat her. And
I'll say it was pretty good. Like, I don't know. It didn't have a ton of depth to it. Like it sat in an my problem with it is that it sits in this uncanny place where it's almost good enough to compare it to Devil May Cry, but then it looks really bad in that comparison, I think, is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's as good as Devil May Cry.
I would never say that. I'm saying like it's good enough that like I want to set it next to that, and that makes it look bad, and that's not really fair to it because it's not trying to be Devil May Cry.
Yeah, I don't think the combat is bad.
No, I don't either.
In any stretch. But like it's
it's just not where the game shines. The game shines in the writing and the set pieces and the world.
Yeah.
But much like an Uncharted game, like it's a first party Sony game, it really wears that on its sleeve.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to wear on its sleeve though. Like I think that's
it's good.
That's a great thing to like sort of specialize in. What did you think of the dragon set piece?
The dragon set piece might have been the highlight of the game for me, actually. It was
pretty
very
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually the final boss was really good too though.
Yeah, the final boss was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean like obviously now you see all these sort of implications for where the next game might go, right? Like
yeah, I will say
what happened to Freya and everything and
yeah, I will say there's a spoiler that is revealed at the end of the game. And I was like, at first they were like somewhat subtle about it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I bet this is going to get addressed in the next game. And then they just say the thing. And I'm like, all right, this is probably 30 or 40% less cool now, but I'm still on board.
Just say it. We've already spoiled everything.
Atreus is Loki. And like,
I spoiled that for you, remember?
Yeah. Oh, I don't remember that.
Actually. Yeah, that's funny.
But I did know, like I picked up on it quickly playing through the game. Like, and then they like kind of confirm it subtly at the end of the game by revealing some things about his mother. And then they just say, oh, and your mom wanted to name you Loki. And I said, oh, all right. I guess we're just gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pick up on it. So I think that reveal really hit hard for me. But I think if you're more attuned to like the mythos and stuff like that, it's easier to pick up on.
The moment I knew the truth about his mom, I was certain of it. But
that she was a giant and stuff.
Yeah, I suspected it a lot before that. Like,
did you watch the post-credit scene?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
I have to because the game just kept playing after the credits.
Oh, okay. Let me rephrase that. Did you go back to your house?
No.
Okay. Yeah, if you go back to your house, you get like the final cutscene of the game.
Oh, weird! It didn't even suggest I go back to my house.
It's a very subtle thing because Atreus says something like, "Hey, let's go. Maybe we should like take a rest now," or something like that.
Had you 100% of the game when you beat it?
No.
Okay, because for me, Atreus said like we should go keep helping people and explore.
I think he says like we could go back to our house and rest, or like keep helping. He says something that points you to the house. I forget what it was, but like.
Oh, for me, the harder pull was to keep exploring, and I was like, no, the credits just rolled. I'm done.
Yeah, so. I
might fire it back up to go do that then.
Yeah. I did 100% everything after the fact, but like, yeah, God of War is one of those games. Like, it's if you do everything in that game, it's a 40-hour game, and I've done everything. I've done everything in that game multiple times. Like, and I can't say that about a lot of 40-hour games. So,
yeah, I'm
really glad. I'm really glad you finally played it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have bought it on PlayStation, I don't think. I'm glad it came to PC. But yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was a good use of my weekend.
And you're ready for Ragnarok like the rest of us now.
I am, yeah. I would like to get it day one, but if I don't, I can live with that.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get it day one, it's probably going to be on PS4, honestly. So.
I will not buy it on PS4.
It's probably going to run like garbage on PS4, but
yeah, I didn't even mention this. Shockingly good, or I guess not that shocking. It's a good port. It runs well on my PC and everything, and my PC is not... I mean, my PC itself is really good. My graphics card is a 1070, though. It's a little dated at this point.
So it's funny. Nix didn't touch this at all. This was all Sony Santa Monica. Corey Barlog said that they had spent 2 years on this PC port. So
they did a knock-up job. I only had one problem, which was that if I don't know what it was hours. Like I was playing for a while before it started happening, but the game would just start stuttering and I would have to turn the game off and back on, which wasn't a huge problem. The only time it really sucked was that I was like walking up the hill in Jotunheim started happening, and I was like, "Oh, this is annoying." But I had it on an SSD, so it took all of 20 seconds to reboot.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's the worst possible time for that to happen.
Yeah, it was. I was thinking, part of me was like, there's not much game left. Do I just play through it with the stuttering? And then I thought, no, I should probably not.
So let me just touch on the ending a little more, because I don't think we've ever delved into spoilers on this show for this game. But like,
I don't think so.
Initially, I was my first impression of the ending was like, wait, that's it? Like, because like I was expecting, like, after you beat Baldur and like the thing with Freya happens and she's like swears revenge or whatever, and you go up the mountain and like you do the thing, like the game just ends, right? And the credits play as you're walking back down the mountain,
which was a very nice touch.
It was brilliant. I think it's brilliant, but my first impression was just like, oh, come on, I wanted something more. But the more I thought about it, I was just I
thought it was perfect.
The more I thought about it, I was just like, this is a really masterful way to end a game.
Because like that was your journey.
Like the whole thing was building up to releasing your mother's ashes, Atreus' mother's, Kratos' wife's ashes on the top, highest peak in all of the 7 realms. And then once that happens, the game ends, just like it promised. Like it's a beautiful way to end the game. And plus, like, the emotional, like the catharsis happens in that moment too, right? Kratos finally takes off his bandages, right? Like, not hiding what he is, right? Like, and he finally calls Atreus his son instead of his boy, right? Like,
and he finally lets Atreus carry the ashes for the final.
Yeah, so like, it's just like that final moment, that moment of catharsis is when the game ends. And once I realized that, I was just like, yeah, this is a nice place to end the game.
I did think that narratively, the only place the game was lacking was that, and maybe it wasn't as bad if you did some of the side quests, but Atreus' heel turn in the middle of the game just kind of stops after a while. Like,
yeah, no, it's great. It's actually good that you bring that up, because like that's a huge, like, if you watch these interviews with Corey and stuff, like, it's like so much of that got cut from the game. Like,
yeah, that's not surprising. You see it when you're playing, and that was upsetting to me, because that was like my favorite part of the game, was like seeing that the
Corey has expressed in interviews like how, you know, like obviously they wanted all that to stay in the game, but they had to cut it for one reason or another. But like the original plan was for that to be a much more drawn out story arc. But it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, no, it hurt the game. I'm not going to say it didn't, but it didn't hurt the game a lot.
Yeah. And gosh, yeah, like, I don't know, like, there's some parts in that when Atreus does his thing and turns into like a teenager, it's just like I really wanted to like choke him at moments. Like, he really sort of ruins everything.
When he's just being a brat to the dwarves, I was like,
yeah, man, it's like, I'm above you, I'm a god. It's just like,
don't do that.
Even Kratos was like, dude, what?
Be cool. Yeah, Kratos of all people is like, chill.
One thing, I think one line I found really funny, because this game can be funny at times too. When Atreus was just like, hey, Brock was the blue one, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Brock, why are you blue? And then Kratos just goes, boy. Like, as in, like, you can't ask him that. You know, like,
boy.
I don't think I got that line at any point.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, but I imagine there's a lot of dialogue that, like,
I'm beginning to like peek through this, and I think Connor played like a whole different God of War than you did, Ahmed.
No, I mean, like,
I played a much shorter God of War for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he played it, you said 15 hours, right?
Yeah, so my experience was 25 hours shorter than yours.
Yeah, my experience was over twice as long as Connor's. So, like, obviously I saw more stuff, but
yeah. And I liked the game, but I liked the story and the set pieces and stuff. I don't think that the side quests, although when I saw the side quests, they had good writing and everything. I don't think that would be lacking, but I doubt there's going to be a set piece like the dragon fight anywhere there.
No. Yeah, the side quests are fine, right? Like, they're just more God of War, but it's not like, it's not a dragon set piece or a Baldur set piece or anything like that. You didn't miss anything like that.
I will say, if you weren't doing the side quests, there were a couple of times the difficulty spiked in a way that I wasn't a huge fan of.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Especially when you're bringing back the Jotunheim Tower.
Okay, yeah.
Segment. And what's really weird was that only one, like, you have to fight enemies from every realm. and only Alfheim, I think. Is that the elf one?
Yes. Oh my god, Alfheim.
There were like 2 enemies from Alfheim, and I swear I was fighting them for an hour. Like, I just kept dying, and I kept dying.
Those Alfheim elves are really a handful to deal with. Like, even when you're like upgraded, like they're tough enemies. So
yeah, it has to have been, because like once I beat that, I got through the next like 2 or 3 waves, whatever was left, on my first try, like no problem.
Yeah.
It was just the Alfheim, and I kept thinking, like, man, I fought these guys last night. Like, I don't remember if there was some gimmick to it.
But yeah, and in terms of like, there's still some mysteries in the story too. Like, who do you think blew the horn when Atreus was ill and Kratos was seeking help? That's still a mystery, right?
I don't think it is. I think it was.
Oh, it definitely is. Corey has come out and said that's like.
Oh, is it?
Like,
wait, when Atreus was sick.
Yeah, okay, so Atreus falls ill, and then Kratos brings him to the witch, and like while that's happening, like the sky gets dark, and someone blows the world serpent horn, and like you don't know.
There's only one person it could be. It's probably Tyr.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because like there's definitely like an implication of like time travel and stuff too.
Yeah,
with the Tyr stuff. So, and a lot of people are theorizing that maybe like Kratos is Tyr, like when he travels back in time or something like that. I don't know. There's so many different.
Yeah, I guess that could be, but I kind of hope it's not.
There's so many different ways. Well, I mean, like, if you watch the trailer for Ragnarok, you see Tyr, so it's probably not that.
Okay. I was going to say, Kratos is far more interesting to me as a complete outsider to this story.
Oh, yeah, I agree. 100%. But, yeah, I think it's going to be exciting talking Ragnarok once all that's said and done. But
I agree, yeah.
All right, sorry, I dragged this section out because I love this game.
No, it's a good game. That's best game I played this weekend, probably. I don't know. I played a lot of Spelunky, too. It was one of the best 2 games I played this weekend.
I mean, it was probably the only 2 games you played this weekend, but...
yeah. I don't think so. I think I played some others. I played some Halo. Okay. I played some Astroneer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mike?
All right, I started Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
Oh,
I keep trying to get into that game, and I can't do it.
The PC port's not the best.
Really? You see, that wasn't my problem. Although I've only played the prequel, the little short.
My primary complaints for the PC port are that the audio slider, there's none. There's one for custom audio. There's no other audio controls unless I completely missed it in the options. But I went through all the reasonable places to put a volume slider. And the control scheme and the control pop-ups don't account for keyboard 90% of the time, so it'll tell you console controls.
Oh, that's annoying.
It's very annoying. I'm like, how do I use directional?
Oh, I guess it's a shooter. You don't really want to use a controller.
Yeah, I didn't want to use a controller, but the game is like, hey, to switch weapons, use the weapon wheel that you can use by pressing the Y button.
Yeah, that's
I don't know how it works on PC, obnoxious. But at least on console with a controller, like that game is one of the best third-person shooters like ever. Like the gameplay is so tight in that game.
The gameplay is fun, but there's also another bugbear. After every single mission, a credit sequence.
Oh.
Yeah. Kojima being Kojima.
Kojima's just like, hey, this was written by Hideo Kojima.
Wait, so is that a bug or is that just in the game?
No, that's just in the game.
It's intentional.
That's really
every mission ends in a cutscene with a credit sequence.
Just
it's
Kojima indulging himself as he does.
This dude's clinically a narcissist.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
I mean, this is the game that Konami's like, you gotta leave.
I mean, this game, you know, it's unfinished, right? Like, you can play this game for like 80 hours and it's not done, which is kind of wild to me.
It'll never be done.
Yeah, it'll never be done. But like, I mean, what's there? Like, I think like the gameplay and the stealth is just like second to none, almost. Like
stealth is probably the most fun way to play it. I've been playing it stealth non-lethal.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I will complain that the start of the game is very, very slow.
So you mean like the very start? Like the
prologue is like an hour of just...
Yeah, so the prologue is like a traditional Metal Gear Solid game, right? Like it's like chock full of cutscenes and weirdness, and then it like turns into
these AAA games thinking it's okay to be boring for 2 hours. Like, I know you already got my $60 or whatever, but like,
I mean, there is a sequence at the start of the game where you can't physically move at a normal pace because you're injured.
So here's the thing.
It's not every AAA game, but this is really common. And like,
so the intro,
never heard of a hook? Like, just give me something.
The intro to Metal Gear 5, I was into it at the beginning because I thought, like, dude, the sheer weirdness of what's happening, plus like everyone starts getting killed. Like, I thought that was a pretty good like narrative hook, at least, right? Like the gameplay doesn't like how
it also pulls up a character customization screen that gets no use throughout the game. It's just there.
Oh yeah, that's just like Kojima like making a commentary on it, I guess. But like, it is funny, right? Like you go through a character customizer and it's just like, no, you're Big Boss. You don't.
No, you're Venom Snake.
Yeah.
Surprise. It's an okay game. I do like the open world aspect, and I do like the ability it makes clearing outposts a lot better than the Ubisoft way of just here's an outpost.
Yeah, this is an open world done right for sure. Like,
because it doesn't open the entire world up to you at once for a mission. For a mission, it'll constrain you to like a smaller area, and still somehow do it properly.
Yeah.
Like it'll tell you, get into this outpost, get this guy out.
Yeah,
or get into this outpost, disable this, or do this.
It's so crazy to me because like Metal Gear Solids 1 through 4, like those games are known for their crazy stories and cutscenes, but like the gameplay was just serviceable, right? And this game is like the inversion almost. Like this game is known for its like insane gameplay and levels, but like beyond like the first like chunk, like the first couple hours of the game, there's like no story anywhere. Like there's barely any cutscenes. Yeah.
Weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it throws a bunch of exposition up to you first as to why you're in Afghanistan, and then
there's like almost nothing except game, which is like really unusual for Kojima.
Doesn't it take place in the 80s?
Yeah. It is a prequel. It's a sequel to 3, but a prequel to the rest of the series.
Yes.
Yeah. The big skip to like the future in 4 is so weird.
Yeah, 4 doesn't skip that far into the future.
Well, it's like modern day, whereas 3 was in like 60s.
So 4 is like a sequel to 2.
2, yeah.
I've only played 3 and 4.
It's a whole thing. But the numbers at the end of the games really don't mean anything. Like it's just
whatever order Kojima decides he wants to write the story in.
Exactly.
The chronological order I think is 3, 5, 1, 2, 4, and Revengeance.
Yeah, I think Revengeance is last.
I feel like there's a couple spin-off games in there somewhere.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
that's the general gist of it.
You need
Revengeance was the best title for anything I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, it's so dumb. It's so awesome.
Hey, it produced the best omelet ever made.
Oh, I think I would really enjoy Revengeance if I played it because it's like a platinum game, right? Like,
yeah, but like I love how like they didn't call it Vengeance or Revenge. They called it Revengeance, and I respect that.
That's got Konami all over it, or not Konami, Kojima all over it. Yeah.
You put Kojima anywhere, and he's going to be a narcissist about it. But you know what? That's why we love Kojima games.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. I've had a weird urge to finally play Death Stranding here recently. And sooner or later, I'm going to buckle.
I think you should. I think, like, it's something. That's all I'll say.
I might wait for the director's cut to come to PC.
Is it not already on PC?
I don't think so.
Just the regular version?
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
I don't know. I don't actually want the features of the director's cut. I just feel like Death Stranding is a game that will benefit to me from having a community playing it at the same time.
I guess, right? Like there's no like interaction though. It's just like you see their effects on the world a little bit, but like
yeah, I mean in a literal sense, I want to like see it on social media and stuff at the same time. So
okay.
I feel like I'm part of the crowd.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. I can't explain why that matters to me, but it does a little bit. I play a lot of games way after they matter, and it's nice to be a part of the crowd sometimes.
Yeah. So Metal Gear.
It's a good video game.
That's all I got.
All you got? You have anything else, Connor?
No, I already talked about Splunky too and stuff. I haven't gotten enough Astroneer to make an opinion about the new update.
All right, yeah, I think I'm done too, so I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you all for listening. You can follow us at @podcast Game Talk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us on any podcast service you use, including Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, etc. Click the link in the description of this podcast to join our Discord and talk to us there. Thank you, Connor and Mike.
Yeah, see you guys next week.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.